Yo, party people in the place to be. It's your number one chief rocker, Uncle Freezy, back on Vibes and Stuff with an episode of Chop It Up with a special guest. And introducing him, I'm just gonna cut straight to the point with a lot of stuff. He is a um, world historian, a national historian. He is a popular TikTok influencer and an author. He is also in the entertainment space with production, music production. A veteran. So basically, this man does it all at a high level. And I would not be doing Vibes and Stuff a service if I didn't invite him on to Chop It Up just to talk about a few things. Y'all know him as Evergreen-G. I know him in a simpler context. I'm just gonna call him friend and friend of the show and of both channels. Y'all give it up for Evergreen-G.
Yo, yo, yo.
What's good, boss?
All is well, man. That introduction is cool, man. I mean, I'm not gonna say that I'm a let's see, what did you say? Veteran, yes. Author, yes.
Music producer.
Buddy, I can't do nothing. Music producer, yeah.
Historian.
Historian, yeah. Take that.
Author.
Soon
Author.
as author, yeah, authors, yeah, yeah. World historian, I guess. I mean, I'm not, I haven't operated anywhere with any collegiate fields or anything like that, but
Right.
I appreciate it. I'm flattered by the introduction. So what's going on? Hope all is well.
Right.
I'm
Well,
trying to I'm trying to pull up
academia
the
starts
channel.
with research. Academia, regardless of what people's credentials are, academia starts with research. You have to research things. You have to have
Fair enough.
a base in order to build upon. And so, with that said, the first thing I want to do is first congratulate you on the impressive following on TikTok. I jump on when I can, right? But when I'm there, the engagement of the crowd with, I mean, they basically, the chat hangs on every word that you say, brother. I mean, these people are like listening to what you say and are researching and taking notes in real time. That is very impressive. Let me ask this though.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, bro.
No, I was just gonna say, I've learned, especially dealing with this social media stuff, that it's like it's not just about what you say. It's more importantly about what you show. You know what I mean? Thus, Evergreen-G Productions. It's not just about what you say. It's not just about what you hear. Like, in order for people to legitimize anything within their minds, they gotta hear it. Like, remember we used to say, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, right? So
Right.
I kind of took that idea to heart, and it's like, well, I could talk a good game. All these people can talk a good game, but what are they actually showing you? And when you combine both of those elements of, information and teaching, like, I've learned that it becomes pretty powerful. It's no different than you showing stats up on a screen about something particular as opposed to just saying it. Nobody believes it when you just say it, but when
Right.
people see it, they know that it's not just coming from your scholarly mind or something like that.
Right.
So I'll
So
make it
why
a point for
why
sure.
why is it important? Why is it important for you to embrace the role of a teacher and dispenser of the truth? Why is that important to you?
Um, I think the big thing is I didn't like coming up in school, like the stuff wasn't adding up for me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like the things that we were taught about world history, American history, so on and so forth. Like it just things weren't adding up. And with me being, you know, a man of logic, like I felt the need to know.
Right.
And then the more I started researching and asking why questions, uh, I felt like the actions of the people were the actions of those who had been bamboozled. And if they could
Right.
simply learn the truth about any given subject, like they would change their actions, and we would all be able to, you know, escape from, you know, poverty and, you know, all these different issues that kind of affect unjustly affect the human family, human psyche, if you will. So I think telling the truth about what's going on in history from a lawful perspective is something that's needed in order to free the minds of the people. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of the reason. And you know, I don't like being lied to. Tell
Right.
me the whole thing, no matter how hard it hurts. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's really it.
Right.
Um, and then
So
it
there is
blossomed into me creating a book.
right. So there is I don't know if everyone understands this or not, but there is an actual truth, which is the recording of things that actually happened. There is that. And then there are
Mhm,
people's personal truths, right?
mhm,
And I think over the course of time, the replacement of the recording of actual events with people's personal truths has become the record, right? And I say that, say for instance, I'll give an example. Things that happen in history happen, and they happen a certain way, and you can't deny that these things happened. But the person that is giving their first person account may have biases. So when they tell their truth, they tell it with a bias, with a tint,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So if they say, for instance, if a person with a personal bias sees Evergreen-G and myself have this conversation about truth telling, they'll see two strong black men, independent thinkers, free thinkers that search for the truth. But when they tell their story, if they have biases, they may tell, they may say that I was there, they may say that you were there, but then they may say the conversation may be some weird anti-Semitic conversation that just wants to rock the boat, right? I think some of that has happened over the course of history. Is Would you say I'm accurate with that, or am I way off base? And if I'm way off base, can you bring me back to a place where the truth is what we talk about?
Yeah, I think, you know, a good parable I use with this is like, you know, we get skewed and kind of, I don't want to say misinformed, but we take the popularity contest winner as the gospel, right?
Right.
Um, and what is to happen is that guy that's more popular or has a more, you know, more popular following, his what he is saying seems to be so compelling, no matter as to whether what this person is saying is truth or not, or backed in truth or not. So what I say is, what we should be doing is analyzing both law and history together, right?
Okay.
Uh, because I'll give you an example, right? Like, you know, on my wall behind me, I got pictures of, you know, Booker T. Washington, Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, J.A. Rogers, like some of the greatest American historical scholars that, you know, a person could think of, right?
Okay.
Now, I could listen to Booker T. Washington's soliloquy that he wrote about regarding the American Revolutionary War, right? But we all know that Booker T. Washington wasn't alive during the American Revolutionary War.
Right.
So the best that he can do is give you a perspective-based reference and right. So we can read about what Booker T. Washington said. We can read about what W.E.B. Du Bois said, and
Right.
that's dope. However, they weren't alive to truly experience the things that they're talking about. However, when you start looking at the references that are given at law, now you get a snapshot of what the people during that day were actually doing.
Okay.
And now you can combine your own experiences, their perspective, and what was actually happened to validate what's true or not. But the
Okay.
problem that we have with American history or just history in general is that you have a bunch of people that weren't there, right? It's almost
Right.
like when you in the hood and you and your boys get into a brawl, but Isaiah wasn't at the brawl, but he can talk about what happened.
Right.
He can talk about what happened, but he wasn't at the brawl. So how does he actually know? He doesn't actually know. He's only listening to what you guys told them,
Right.
or he's only re- reading what you guys told him, or dealing with an account that you guys told him, and he's putting his own feelings and spin on it. No,
Right.
we have to be able to combine both the law side and the personal accounts of history side, so that we
Okay.
can get to the bottom of truth. And that's where I stand on all of that. That's why I make sure that I show things as opposed to just talking about
Okay. That's interesting and challenging at the same time. Right.
it.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna lie to you. Right. As a person for instance, I am working on research and studying the I'm studying national economics and the Federal Reserve at the moment. Right.
Oh, okay.
There are certain things right in history that lends itself to at law. Like there are actually documents written to put things in place, and that is the standard that we go by. Now, they've been revised over the years by different acts and policies over the years because as nations change and grow, their needs change and grow. So you have to amend certain
Mm-hmm.
things, right? But at the same time, while I can't give a first person account to why the SEC was created after the Great Depression, I can go back to those laws that were written. They're documents that we can all go and read right now and glean information from it. At the same
Right.
time, I wasn't there to see any of these things and how they impacted the economy. All I can go by is second and third hand accounts, right? And for those that don't know what I mean, I'm talking about newspaper articles and such written about these occurrences that happened while the reporter from that newspaper was not there when it actually happened. He went and spoke to people that were there and got second and third hand accounts and things of that sort, and he wrote the truth the best he could based off the information he got from people with firsthand accounts and things of that sort, right?
Right.
So what I'm asking you too though is how does what you provide help um um how does what you do help improve how we go about or I'm trying to phrase it in a way. How do what you do help? What's your impact on history, basically? How does what you do impact history? Basically, is what I'm getting at.
Okay. All right. So
So,
my
like
my
in 30
intention.
years, when people look back at when in 30 years, when somebody comes across your book, right? How do you feel like they will be impacted by what they read?
I think the impact that this book has, um, it gives. people a foundation of how to research,
Okay.
and it gives them a foundation to gain what I colloquially call legislative competence. Um, Understand that, people who look like you and I at one point in time were shunned away from reading, were
Right.
shunned away from, operating in government, were shunned away from, having a family unit, all these things.
Right.
Um, so because of that, they didn't have a full understanding collectively. I'm not talking about individuals that were in power, such as Benjamin Banneker and
Right. Right. Right.
Marcus Garvey and these people. Obviously, they're the greats. But as a collective body, our people didn't have legislative competence, right? Over the very thing that claims jurisdiction over them, right? They don't know law, they don't know history. So the intention that I had with this book is to be able to give people a foundational point to start with when it comes to one, understanding words, and then and two, seeing how those words syntactically can come together
Right.
to create what we call legislation. Because if people are being honest, if the chat's being honest, like, how many people actually can say that they've read the Constitution for the United States of America
Not me. I have
fully,
not.
completely?
I have
Right.
not.
I and out of those people that say that they can, or they did read the Constitution, how many of those people say that they can actually comprehend it with its syntax?
Right.
The number dwindles again.
Right.
But yet we have so many of our people that will say things such as the Constitution wasn't written for us. And it's like, well, this is the one thing that you, as a United States citizen living here within these lands, have the opportunity to comprehend, because it essentially controls your everyday movement, right? It tells you
Everything.
what, right.
Everything.
It
Even
it it it
crossing the street. Even
it,
crossing
it
the street. Some of this stuff, bro.
so it's like, why would you not want to comprehend the one thing that you, under the proclamation of saying I'm a US citizen, right? I got a birth certificate, I got a social security card, I got a driver's license and ID. The one thing that actually governs all of that, and your very premise of being here, are people, because of legislative competence, because of the history of them telling us that, you're not allowed to read, and if you get caught reading, we're going to take your tongue out, we're going to poke
Right.
your eyes out, all this other stuff that they
Right.
threaten us with.
Right. Right.
Why don't our people tap into that and say, you know what, I want to govern my own affairs, and I can use this document to do so, because its foundations put people on notice, or put the world on notice, as to how we operate over here and what our rights are over here,
Right.
right? But our people
Right.
don't have that. And it's not because they're unwilling to, quote unquote, revolutionize and take matters into their own hands. It's that the energy is directed in the wrong place, when we can just simply deal with legislation and get to exactly what it is that we need to be. Because
Did
the
you said
whole,
misdirected energy?
I think it's misdirected. I think the energy, like, for lack of a better, a lack of a better example, like, you got a whole bunch of people that's all up in arms and happy about what just happened in Montgomery, Alabama a couple of days ago, right?
Right.
And they're using that as a moral victory of unity. But now, when it's time to put the pen to pad and, actually unify and deal with things in commerce and government,
Right.
everybody goes back to watching people shake ass on TikTok.
Right. Pretty much.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like a level of being so docile, but it's fabricated. They taught us these things, and we don't have a foundation of
L-
civics to be able to right away operate in government and be able to change things for ourselves. We don't really have that, you know.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that. Just
Okay.
just slightly, just a little, just a nudge of pushback. And it's my belief and my experience that we are not being taught that anymore. I think we've been taught that for generations, right? But
Mhm.
at this point, when somebody teaches you how to ride a bike, once you get the bike, you start riding the bike by yourself, right? Like I
Mm.
think it's inherent now. Like if for instance, I don't think it's man. Listen, I saw my homeboy bought his baby girl, the grandbaby. The grandbaby just started walking, and she is in Jordans, right? Now listen, I know Air Jordans for a 11-month old, 10-month old are not as expensive as it would be for a 40-year-old.
Mhm.
But my thing to that is why not put that small bit of investment in education, right? You could put that money, you can annuitize that money, right? And so by the time that same person, that same baby is a 11th grader or 12th grader preparing to go to college and has to make the decision on where to go to college based on where she can afford to go, at least has the financial backing to make a more um educated decision and a more forward thinking decision on where to go to school because money is not as much as an issue as it would have been. Like a lot of us, when we make
Mhm.
decisions, we make long term decisions based on finances and what we can afford and can't afford to do. And I know that's a roundabout way of saying, um, um, you know, are we led down this road or do we go down this road? I'm here to tell you, I think we were led down the road for a long time, but at this point, I think we are no longer the student driver. We're driving ourselves down this road now that you
Yes.
mentioned. Now, there
Yes.
is assistance, right? There is assistance. I'm not saying that the system that was set up for us to not read and not educate ourselves and not be familial, right? Because that's another thing too. There was a system set up in place for us not to be familial, like legit a family unit being together because family units were ripped apart and and things of that sort,
Mhm.
right? But my thing is if you are like a cat my age, like if you're in your early to mid 50s, right? If you're in your early to mid 50s, why are you watching your son put $100 sneakers on a baby that's 11 months old that you know she's only going to be able to wear those shoes for 3 weeks and then they won't have any resale value?
That's what I was mentioning earlier when I said that the energy is it's like a misdirected energy.
Misdirected. That's an
The energy
excellent
is
term
being
too.
the energy is being put into the wrong place. Like for those of you that are unaware, like John D. Rockefeller, who is the founder of the General Education Board, which later became what we know today to be, the Board of Education,
Right.
which is, chartered by Congress. His philanthropy, he was able to get this stuff enacted in government, so it's chartered by Congress. John D. Rockefeller is quoted as saying, "I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers."
Right.
So the question you got to ask yourself is, what gave John D. Rockefeller the power and the wherewithal and the autonomy to be able to say that, and then almost 120 years later, the actions of the thing, the action of him saying that, and then pushing in the educational system, where you just said earlier that we're not taught about finances, we're
No.
not, and I'm saying we're not taught about civics. These are things that have been enacted through legislation, right? And that are still happening to this day. And right now, the fact that your friend's granddaughter is operating and moving around in a pair of Jordans as a consumer,
Right.
which means what? That her father is not thinking,
No.
right? Her father is just operating as a consumer, just working, right?
Right.
This stuff has been put into legislation. It's real,
Right.
right? It's tangible. We can touch it, we can buy it, we can see it. But our
Right.
energy of what we could be doing as far as finances, as far as economics, all of that stuff is it's misdirected in consumerism.
Does that
So it's misdirected in consumerism.
right, right. But let me ask you this. Does that is that plan enacted to eliminate competition? Survival of the fittest. Like get rid of your competition. And listen, and I'm not talking about and I'm not talking about in terms of um 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 standard oil. I'm not talking about stuff like that. What I'm talking
Mm-hmm,
about
mm-hmm.
is race based, right?
Mm.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like, some deep rooted, eliminate or hold back certain races so that others can be dominant, and you do it by an educational system that basically says um 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 puts us in a situation where it's like we don't if you teach them not to value, and I'm using your term, if you teach them not to value education or family or civic responsibility and teach them to value nothing, then at some point you won't have competition. You won't have
I'll say this. I get what you're saying. This is what I found it to be, and this is one of the things that I ended up discovering on my research, and it's part of the reason why I ended up writing this book, because you brought it up. It's the very idea of race is the foundational part of where this competition comes from, right? And I'm
right,
not talking about race like racing from the Spanish and the Portuguese, racing from Europe to to South America to reap havoc and capital
right,
gain on tobacco. I'm not talking about that.
right,
I'm talking
right, right,
about the racial idea that we see is masked as skin color, phenotype, biology, right? They put that in front of our faces so that it'll make it easier for them to take the land.
right,
In other words, they utilize race in front of us as opposed to the one thing that everybody across the planet has been dealing with forever, which is called nationality.
right,
Everybody on the face of the planet has a nationality, all of them.
right, right, right,
Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, Russians, Eritreans, Libyans, the list goes
right,
on, 195 countries,
right, right,
right, across the planet. They gave the people over here race. They started it in South America, they perfected it in North America, and now we're utilizing it right now to this day to separate each other, not realizing that we're separating ourselves from nationhood, which nationhood implies what? It implies governance,
yep,
right? It implies unity, it
yep,
implies commerce, it
right,
implies all the basics of economics, the seven-headed dragon of economics, from media, agriculture, military, education, trade and transportation, government, and politics. Those are
right,
the seven and all of that is based off of land ownership. They
right,
gave us race, and in return, took took nationality away because they put the mask on it. And now our people are here arguing and yelling and screaming at each other about crayon colors.
right, right.
So we
And
have
instead of the foundation of nationalism,
instead of the foundation, and
right,
they did it. Understand that this wasn't something that happened in a day, right? They say Rome wasn't built in a day. This wasn't something that happened in a day.
No.
This is something that happened. If you want to go back from 1492 till, I would say effectively 1865, or if you want to go from 1619 effectively to 1865, however,
Yeah.
wherever levels of history
1619.
you want to look at.
1619 is kind of where I put my. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if you want to do it from there until now, specifically dealing with North America, or if you want to, you know, include all of the people from North and South America together because the colonization happened congruently, like then all means. But
Right.
effectively, here within the United States of America, all it took was from that time up until 1865, and now from 1865 and beyond, through acquiescence, our people are indoctrinating themselves,
Right.
right? And this is
Right.
what I say, this is why I call it legislative incompetence. Because
Right.
if they was to simply deal with the law, the root cause of what happened before, the status of the people, how they were operating in government, and where the change came about, they would see that all of this shit is written. All of it is written. Excuse my
Right.
French. All
Right.
of it
Right.
is
Right.
written. But
Right.
our people just, whatever they say, whatever bank you got, put it in a crook. Want to hide something from a Negro, put it in a book. And
Right.
that might be one of the strongest parable philosophies I've ever heard in my life.
Right. Right. It's
So
accurate. It's accurate, bro. And for those watching and think that maybe I'm out on a limb on this, I'll give you an example. Your homeboy goes to the furniture store and buys something, say a bookshelf, right? The bookshelf comes with everything that person, the purchaser, needs in order to have a quality bookshelf. You know what we'll do? We'll open the box, take the instructions, and set the instructions to the side and try to put the bookshelf without the instructions, right? When the first thing
guilty as
we should
charged.
have done is read the instructions, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. And listen, it's I'm not pointing at them. I'm saying this is what I've seen in my own family. I said grandfather did it, father did it, uncles did it. We'll get something, it'll have instructions, words to tell you to how to use it, how to put it together, and if you have issue, who to call.
Uh-oh.
But they won't read it. They'll put it together, and then that thing will be lopsided for 20 years, and they'll take a coaster and put under it to hold it up right. Right?
Or
That's
they be wondering what is done. They'll be like, "Oh man, I got this extra wing nut over here,"
right,
and
right.
then
Where,
and
where
then
these
they
three screws
realize that
go?
it's actually not an extra wing nut, and they don't know where they went wrong. Yeah, it happens all the
Right,
time, bro.
right, right, right. And so to your point, the point that you were making, the information is there for us to use. But I think what happens with us though, Evergreen, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think what happens to us though is a lot of us get that temporary inspiration. Like we'll get that temporary inspiration, but don't know what to do with that short term energy.
Mm.
So instead of focusing that short term energy and being esoteric, what we'll do is we'll redirect that laser on something else and forget about what it was that was so important for us to get charged up in the first place.
This is part of the reason why I say like this is not something that you can do by yourself, right? Because you like when, for example, like I started writing my book officially in January of this year. If you guys notice, like I haven't been on any of the Nick platforms. I haven't been
Right.
talking. I just kind of been really low key. Every now and then jump on Twitter, blah blah. But for the most part, I've been kind of conducting like experiments and talking with people. And I had a couple people whom I acquaint with that told me like, "Yo, you need to write a book and you need to write it now." You know. However, I had been on on this space of social media talking about these things for roughly three
Right. Right.
years.
Right.
Going
Right.
up until now, going on about 3 years.
Right.
if I didn't have people behind me that are interested in the same exact thing that I'm interested in that pushed me to write this book, I probably would have given up on this idea of pushing out this information in general back in November. But I've had people saying like, "Yo, this information is good. The way you speak it, the way you talk about it is good." Like, so you need to get charged up. You can't get
Right.
this information and be what we call in the military. You can't be the senior man with the secret
Right. Right.
because before you know it, you're going to get tired, or it's going to be time for you to get discharged, and then
Right.
you're going to be out, and then all the rest of the people behind you are not going to know what to do
You took the
because the
intel
senior
with you.
man is done.
Yep.
Yeah, you took the detail
Yep.
with you. So sometimes it's going to take somebody else that's a senior man to be able to put you up on game on something, and you got to accept that and realize now that you have a role to play.
Right.
So I didn't do this, I didn't put together this book, and the mind that I have now, it didn't come all into my brain by myself. I had
Right.
tons of other people and scholars that the only thing I had was the wherewithal to try to remain curious.
Right. Is that an effort or was that natural?
Ooh, I think it's a.
Because the
I would
effort
say.
takes
I
the
would say.
uh effort takes an unreasonable amount of energy. You know what I'm saying? To like those days where you feel like don't not doing it, you have to find the energy to continue. Where if it's natural, you know what I'm saying, you get it's more of an organic thing. Like, it's one of those things like you feel like you have to do it. You know what I'm saying?
No. Okay. Okay. No. 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 So I felt the duty to talk about these issues.
Okay.
The effort came into play as far as investment is concerned,
Okay.
because I had to use my hard-earned work labor to purchase books and research and all that other stuff,
Right.
right? So it's a bit of both, but I mean, most of the research came from my own curiosity. I've always been a curious person. I've always
Okay.
been a why asking person. Why?
Right.
Why is this? But then I came to the conclusion that asking why is the wrong question. I started asking who, what, when, where, and how.
Right.
Because if I ask a why question, that why could eventually lead me to, you know, uh, 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 the, the the unicorns and the stars in the sky. Meanwhile, we're talking about legislative competence, and before you know it, we're discussing the zodiac and if Martians exist. So I
Right.
stopped asking why. My curiosity and my vigor for curiosity had me asking why, and I wasn't getting the answers that I was seeking. I started asking how,
Right.
and it led me to being able to put law and history together. So it's a bit of both.
Right. Right. I kind of figured it was a blend, right? Because initially upon hearing it, I was shocked. I was like, "Wow, okay, this dude is used to talk to me about the collective bargaining agreement, and now he's talking about all these other things, right?" So because there is listen. I ain't gonna lie to you. For those, I'm gonna call you guys nerds, right? And no disrespect, but
No,
I'm
I
not
get it.
gonna.
I
I
love
just
it.
don't feel like saying intellectual 1,000 times. So I'm gonna
Uh-huh,
use
uh-huh.
nerds as a placeholder, right?
Word, word,
For
word. I get
for
it. I get it.
so for some of us that are intellects, and when I say intellect, I'm not saying the smartest person in the room. What I'm saying is the constant striving for more knowledge, right? The constant searching for more intel, right? For those of us, some of us are nerds like that. So when I heard you the first time, I was kind of shocked a little bit, not because of who was speaking, but what was being said and the level in which it was being said, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for instance, I saw a movie series called oh god, True Colors. Is that it? The True Colors series? Is that it? Where they talk about how blacks around the world did all these amazing things? Um,
It sounds familiar. You talking about Hidden Colors?
Hidden Colors. That's it. Hidden Colors.
Hidden
Hidden
Colors.
Colors.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm tracking that.
So I watched Hidden Colors, one and two and three, and I don't know where they are right now in this series, but I was watching Hidden Colors and I was like, wow, these people sound amazing, right? And then I saw you last year. I'm gonna say before the
Mhm.
holidays. I'm gonna say because I got injured, so I had time, right? I had
Right, right,
injured,
right.
had an injured, I had two injured legs, right? A ligament on one leg and some other stuff on another leg. So I'm just there with my phone and I'm just scrolling. Like I'm on like TikTok now, and I look and I'm like, okay, that's Evergreen, and I listen. So I'm listening, right? So I'm listening, and things are being said not about um conversation. So things are being said informal, but not conversationally. And I know that sounds like they should be the same,
No,
right?
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
R-
I'm speaking to people, but I'm not giving them an opportunity to like reply back and like, yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or yeah. In that sense, they're not. They're you didn't allow people to muddy the waters. Is what I'm getting at.
Okay,
Right?
okay, yeah,
You
yeah.
had the truth
Fair
and you
enough. I
had
like it.
proof. You was putting it on the screen. Somebody say something. You be like, oh no, wait, and you'd show them proof, right?
Hmm.
You show them proof. Like this is why we do this because this event occurred, and here is the proof that it occurred, and you do resourcing, right? Right.
Hmm.
And we
Hmm.
have to have in our when we have dispensation like this, right? You and I, this is dispensation. It's in an informal tone. It's not conversational where everybody can just add some stuff and muddy the waters, right? So we try to keep it,
Hmm.
what I'm saying, in a fact based continuum, right? And it's
Hmm.
hard to have fact based continuums because of three things, right? In my mind, there are people that don't want the truth to be heard, so they'll add lies to it just so that it won't be the truth, right? Because if
Hmm.
you add, it's like when you make chocolate milk, right? You have milk and you add chocolate to it. It's still milk, but it's chocolate milk because somebody added something to it to taint it, to take it from being pure milk to a combination of other stuff. And then now the people that wanted milk are having a hard time figuring out, you know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
two, you have people that don't know what they're talking about add parts to the conversation, and you're like, wait a minute, what do you what? And so what that does is when you add people that it does multiple things. For one, for people that know what they're talking about, and somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about add stuff to the conversation, it will frustrate the people that know the truth to either leave the conversation, right? leave the conversation or whatever, right? And then others that don't know the truth that are searching, and somebody that doesn't know also add something. Now the person that didn't know that was searching, they have bad intel and they're going to spread that too.
So
Yeah,
see that, and yeah, I get what you're saying, and I actually like that. That's the glory of like why I like the platform TikTok, right?
right,
Like with me being, such a bookworm that I am now. Let me preface that. Like I'm a bookworm now. Now I wasn't
right,
always a bookworm.
right,
Um, I like that part of the engagement that the application has because you're gonna have a ton of people that are curious to the information. You're gonna, like you said, you're gonna have a ton of
right,
people that are gonna be, they're gonna try to do their best to refute the information. You're gonna have a bunch of people that don't necessarily care and are listening in for entertainment value.
Right.
But
Yeah.
throughout all of that, somebody is gonna learn something, whether it's truth
Right.
or falsehood.
Right.
And throughout that, you might have a few people within those people that that want to learn something that don't necessarily have the courage to raise their hand and ask a question. So the guy
Right.
that's on the platform that's trolling and saying a bunch of bullcrap, I get to address him, or I get to address the people that want to learn through him,
Right.
because he's saying something that they might have a foolish rebuttal to, that you actually also might have, right?
Right.
You might think, if I was to tell you that this is, that my headphones are red, right? Somebody
Right.
else might be blind listening to it, and now I have to try to find a way to explain to him that my headphones are actually the color black, because
Right.
he might be afraid to stand up and say, "Yo, I'm actually blind. I can't see. How can you prove to me about your headphones being black?" Or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Somebody is looking for a way to learn something, and they're engaging and listening to all of this information. So I mean, that's why TikTok is good, because I get to show them the resource that I have. I
Right.
get to read it to them. So as long as they can comprehend words, right? They might not be able to deal with things syntactically, but I can break it down into a way like, bro, I'm from the Bronx, New York. Like we talk, I mean, we talk trash. We're from New York City. Like, we
Right.
have a way of being able to express ourselves and
Right.
speak in parables to where people can get a clear, a clear conveyed message.
Right.
So I try to do that and bounce in and out of law, and portray it in a parable to the way most people will be able to understand it, and they'll say, "Oh, now I understand what was going on with John D. Rockefeller.
Right.
Now I understand how this is once the General Education Board, and now it's the Board of Education. Now
Right.
I see where the pieces come into play, where our people might have been bamboozled." And the only
Right.
reason I saw that is because somebody else might have trolled and said, "Yo, John D. Rockefeller is the greatest philanthropist in the world to ever live, and he did great things." And now I can show them in real time. Great things is a matter of perspective, right?
Yeah.
And I get to show them a matter of law.
Great things. Great things depends on what side of that you're on,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
how you define great. Because if you define great as impactful, then man, yeah. But if you define great as in size and scope, definitely, because the
Mm-hmm.
size and scope of what he did impacted millions of people. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, whether it was negatively or positively, that part is up for debate. So if you look at the word great for what it is, I could see but everybody doesn't necessarily break down words for what they are. And two, the thing you said about the red headphones, that's the classic case. Excuse that. That's the classic case of people taking a little bit of truth and adding a lot of false, because
Mm-hmm.
you are indeed wearing headphones, right? That is the truth, right? But the fact that he said that they were red is like adding chocolate milk to the milk. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You know what I'm saying? Muddy in the waters, muddy in the waters. Yeah. So there are some people that do that intentionally, and there are a lot of folks out there that do it intentionally. We gotta kind of be careful of those, because they are protecting something that they don't want to share with everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
right? So by hiding the truth or muddying the waters, it kind of helps them maintain their possession of something.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't mean to get. I don't want to get too. I don't want to. Didn't want to get too. Didn't want to take over the conversation. But the thing that you mentioned though, the thing that you mentioned, man, I feel like, bro, every time we talk, I always feel like we running out of time. Every time you and I speak, I always feel like we like, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause, but
Word.
let me ask this. So what is your and I'm just going to ask this, and I know it's going to sound like a simple question, but if you can elaborate on it, then I have some follow-up questions to ask. But what is your personal goal for the crayon box paradigm? Like your personal goal, right? Not the dispensation, not that, you know, you know, the helping of others. We can get to that part. But what's your personal goal? Is it just to become? Are you like, yo, I always wanted to be an author. I just wanted to test to market. Maybe I could take this thing to another level. What's your personal goal for the crayon box paradigm?
Um, Honestly, the initial personal goal that I had in regards to it was really just it was just really a matter of writing the book, right? It was a matter of expressing myself through law and history and just pushing the book out.
Okay.
I've come to learn with many scholars that I've read from before is that their books kind of take a life of their own, and other people grab the book and they might, you know, read from it in a PowerPoint, PowerPoint conversation or whatever the case may be. They everyone reads literature and they take bits and pieces out of that literature and determine that what's important to them. So when I wrote the book, I was looking at that with law in mind,
Okay. Okay.
in hopes that people will be able to piece things together for themselves and see where it fits for their own business, see where it fits for their own understanding. I didn't necessarily have a goal until I saw that at one point it was, the number one best-selling human rights law book in the nation for a month. And then that's
Right.
when I got the battery on my back to say, like, this book has the potential to change lives. I just wrote it and allowed, my imagination for the cover and, the blurb on the back to be able to, let it go where it needs to go.
Okay.
So now it's like I'm not looking at it as a form of, trying to make money off of the book. Like the money is gonna come. I want to see how many people while I'm alive are gonna look at this book and read it and give it legitimacy in their own lives. And if it requires for me to market the book maybe a little bit more, then so be
Right.
it. But I don't
Right.
necessarily care about, the monetary gain from the book and all that. I want people to be able to look at this book and say, hey, this book was a foundational point into me clearing up falsehood and truth
Okay.
about history, law, genealogy, etymology, syntax, and all of the stuff that I was taught in my younger days. I can now look at it in the same way that you looked at it and say, hey, what you were taught was lie, and
Right.
this is how the truth works. So I
Right.
don't want it to be like I got this goal of, becoming a bestseller and a worldwide speaker. Like that's not my intention. It's just
Okay.
I get more out of somebody coming up to me and saying, "Yo, thank you
So
for
what
being
I'm
able to
gonna
put this
say though
together.
to
Now
you,
I understand."
so what I'm gonna say to you
Hold
is
on,
this.
brother. I think I did something with my audio. Hold on. Give me a second.
Okay.
Hold on. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes. So
Okay,
what I was
good.
gonna say to you is that those things may come in faster than you think. I think what happens is with us, there are um so okay. So I'm gonna put one foot in front of the other. Let me stop right there. I'm just gonna hold on to that question I was gonna ask and just ask you this. Is there a such thing as black?
Is there such thing as black? Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a
Okay.
such thing as black. Black is an adjective. It is a descriptive word. It is a word that is used to, it's used to describe a noun. That's what all adjectives are. There's a such thing
Right.
as, well, in the mind, there's a such thing as black. There's a such thing as blue. It's based off of perception, and we utilize certain words to describe certain things. So in this case, yes, like for example, behind me, I have the red, black, and green UNIA banner, United Negro Improvement Association banner, right? It's
Right. Right.
black for the people that have been taught that this is black, the color of it is black. Yes. Um, Now, is black a thing now? Meaning it's a noun, a person, place, or thing. No, it is not. And that's one of the things that gets brought to us in the form of race over here,
Okay.
right? We get told that we are black people,
Right.
but we know that right away linguistically we are violating one of the very 8 parts of speech, because first off, when I look at you, I know that black is an adjective word, and I know
Right.
what black looks like.
Right.
Black doesn't look like you, and it certainly doesn't look like me. We
Right.
both look different, various degrees or hues of brown.
Right.
So that would cause us to ask a question: where did we start, or when? Remember, I told you I didn't ask why. I started asking who, what, when, where, and how.
Right.
How did we start being called black? When did
Right.
we start being called black?
Right.
Where did it happen? Right?
Right.
And this led me down to be able to shift the whole paradigm that I had in my mind, that this idea of black people actually exists, and it doesn't. And this is one of the hardest cognitive dissonance things that it, that it takes with dealing with our people, because they're hyped up off of an identity that has been given to them by the very same people that colonized them, and they wear it with pride.
Right.
So how do I, as an author, how do I, as a speaker, try to get people to see that without pissing them off? And and
Right.
and I realized that when I give this information up, that people aren't actually getting mad at me for what's being said. They're getting mad at the process of the colonization. And it's
Okay.
just being pushed onto me like I'm the bad guy. All I'm doing is reading you what the book says. I didn't create the English language. I
Right.
didn't create the Indo-European language group, right?
Right.
These words existed long before they became applied to people in any such manner.
Right.
And then when you start to see that connection, and then you see where exactly the fraud came about, and is a direct connection as to how we lost the land.
Right. Um, I'm puzzled. There are
Mm,
so many, man, putting this puzzle together is like putting the puzzle together in a hurricane, right?
mm,
Because there are so many, every time you find a piece, you have to go out and search for other pieces. You think it's in one place, you find out that all of a sudden in this storm, things are not exactly what you think they are, right?
mm,
Because I was taught that black is black, right? So I was taught that black is black and black is beautiful. That's what I was taught. I come from an era like everybody, like not everybody, but people born in the late 60s, early 70s, were taught this thing that black is black, black is beautiful. But then when I get
mm,
older, I start to hear words like or hear people described as Moors, right?
mm,
And people being described as um, Ethiopian, Kush,
mm, mm,
right? So I start hearing these um, different type of terms, and I thought I was taught my whole life up to that point that black is black, right?
mm,
And then somebody told me like, hey man, as big as that a continent is, as big as a continent is, you think that continent wouldn't have diversity on it? And so I had never thought about, I never, or I don't want to blame gatekeepers. I don't want to do that. What I will say is, um, I never thought past my nose on those type of issues because as a little guy, I was taught stuff like "say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud." You know what I'm saying? but I never knew what black really meant. All I knew, hey man, what is black? Black is black. Black is beautiful, right? Never thought of it as an
Mhm.
adjective to describe people, because it's what you taught, and the people that taught us that were so passionate. They were so passionate in the way that they said it that it felt like the truth, right?
Right.
So am I naive with that thought, or or is that actually true and I'm looking too deep into it?
Uh, n- the general public, I would say, is naive in the sense that, again, like I said earlier, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. I think the easiest way to figure this out is ask a little kid that's untainted,
Right.
right? A little kid that hasn't been, you know, started or indoctrinated into the educational system. Ask a 4-year old or a 3-year old, what color is this? And hold it up.
Right.
This is how I came to this information, right? I had learned I learned all history of Moors and Hebrews and Cush and Kemet, and I learned all of that. I
Amen.
was one of the
Right.
most pro-black people that you could ever meet,
Right.
right?
Right.
One day, this is my 9-year-old son. For those of y'all that have seen my son and seen him come around. Um, One day I was getting my son ready for daycare, and I said, "Hey son, what color shoes do you want to wear? Do you want to wear the green shoes or the blue shoes?" Right? And he looked at me in the face and said, "Neither of them, Daddy. I want to wear the brown shoes." Now, ain't nothing this boy got on. We fashionable. We from New York City. We try to look good all
Just
the
say,
time. Why the
uh-huh.
hell this kid want to wear? Why he want to wear brown shoes? He don't got on nothing brown. He want to
Right.
wear his brown shoes. And I asked him. I said, "Why do you want to wear brown?" He goes, "Because it's my favorite color." And I'm looking at him puzzled, like, since when? I always thought your favorite color was green. When did
Right.
it become
Right.
brown? And he goes, "It's always been brown, Daddy. Look at my skin. My skin is
Right.
brown."
Right.
Right?
Right.
So he said that, and I'm furious.
Right.
I'm furious. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what? I'm ready to blame everybody. I'm especially ready to, like, he's
Right.
going to daycare now. I'm ready to blame the daycare center.
Right.
So of
Yeah.
course, I get him in the car. I'm fuming. I'm driving down the block. I got my hand steering wheel cover. I'm holding it, and it's my New York Knicks steering wheel cover. I got the Knicks sitting right at the top. It's all black for you Knicks fans that
Right.
probably have that steering wheel cover, right?
Right.
I
Right.
got my hand
Right.
on top of it, covering the emblem. The whole thing is black. I get to a red light, and I'm pissed off. And I'm looking at him, and he's just as happy. He don't have no clue why I'm pissed off.
Right.
And I look at my steering wheel cover, and I look at my hand holding onto it, and I said, "Damn, my 4-year-old is correct.
Right.
My 4-year-old just informed me that I'm not black."
Right.
And then I went and started investing in dictionaries and reading all of these things and seeing, okay, the 8 parts of speech belong in every single language,
Right.
right? And this word is an adjective, and that's a noun, that's a pronoun, that's a verb, that's an adverb, that's a conjunction, that's an interjection, that's a preposition. All these words go in their proper space in order for us to formulate sentences.
Yep.
We've been using these words wrong the whole time and blaming it on context, blaming it on us. You got to be able. Oh, you can't blaming it on semantics, which rightfully so, it is semantics.
Right.
But it's like, why aren't you using that? When did it come about that we just so willy-nilly was able to throw away our connection to the rest of the world through language? Because if
Right.
someone is speaking Chinese, or excuse me, speaking Mandarin or Cantonese, and they want to learn English, what do they do in order to figure out what these phonetic sounds and words mean?
Right.
They open up a damn dictionary.
Yep.
After they
Yep.
figure out what all the characters are, they say, okay, this is what this word means. And now they try to communicate with us.
Right.
but
Right.
they can't communicate with us now because we're ostracizing ourselves in what we call ebonics or connotative linguistics, et cetera, et cetera. And
Right.
we're utilizing that and then formulating identities behind it,
Right.
not realizing that the very formulation came from somebody who colonized us in the first place.
Right. 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 Man. Yeah. Yeah. It's a complicated, bro. It's so complicated, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. And when I say complicated, or when I imply complex, I don't mean that the individual pieces are difficult to figure out. What
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying is that the multitude of variants is confusing if you don't know what it is that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Like this topic that we're talking about is complex. Not complex in that um um certain things are easy to figure out. The complexities come in knowing what things to look for, right? And being having the energy and stamina and endurance to continue to look for these things, like studying world history, and not world history, not looking at 1865 is not the jump off point, right?
Mm-hmm.
1865 is not the start point, right?
Right.
Right, that is not the start point. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of us that understand, um you have to go back at least 400 years at a minimum, right? At least 400 years, right? Because there were things that happened because certain nations had motivations to do certain things. Some of it was commerce, and for those that don't know, the some of the European countries, some of their motivation was they were fighting each other and killing each other before they even expanded. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
This is you know what I'm saying? Like colonization and war and all these things occurred in this man. Listen, it's look at it right now. Like when you look at places on your globe, look at when you look at the global news, right? I think people think the Middle East is probably the most turbulent, and sure it's
Right.
turbulent, right? But when you look at Europe, Europe is always on the cusp of something happening, always, and it's always. And I'm not going to say it's always been that way, but as far as when I look back at history, all of it. So let me ask this, yeah, because I don't want to misstate it. Um, how are you? Are you versed on the nations in Europe before they became France and Germany and Luxembourg and all those countries? Um,
Um, I'll say this: the majority of my historical research regarding Europe will start it with 711 AD. We'll start with we'll, we'll start with Al
okay.
Moroccan or Moorish
Yep. Yep.
implementation of the seven liberal arts into Europe and
Right.
bringing people out of the bubonic plague or the black plague and that kind of stuff. That's where the majority of my historical research is going, um, which would start at the cusp of the Crusades and the Holy Roman Empire and stuff like that. So I'm there, but
Right.
for me, a lot of people aren't able to grasp how all of those things are connected to what's going now. So I try to show a snapshot of that part of history and then jump to 1492, 1619, 1865, and show the laws within the English language and how they
Right.
affect the people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, the reason why I laughed is because when you mentioned a certain stitch of time, one of my personal heroes, one of my personal heroes is a person in history named Angelo Suleiman, and a
Mm,
lot of people don't know who that is, but but I'll ask for you. I ask those that don't know to research Suleiman on your own. But when you can sit in a room with people like Mozart, right, and have them, they are giving you their undivided attention while you speak, and you were once an African slave that intellectually was so intellectually superior that people around you were like, no, 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 he can't have this slave status, bro. We gotta, he's too important. I don't care what the rules say. I don't care what the goal is. An intellect like this, we have to preserve this thing, right? Like the dude dressed so well for his day, and he was so well spoken, and he would be in these rooms with all these influential historic figures, and they would be in that room quiet as a church mouse while this dude spoke. And he came from, bro, it's amazing, bro.
for me, the equivalent to your passion about Solomon was is Benjamin Banneker.
Right, right,
Benjamin Banneker for me is like, he gave the United States of America and these people the blueprint to farming. He gave them the blueprint to astrology.
right,
He gave them the blueprint, the literal blueprint to Washington D.C. is
right,
designed is
right,
designed by Benjamin Banneker.
right, right,
So it's like, for me, I can give people a better visualization because we have more, I don't want to say artistic development, but we have people that living in the now in real time can point to Google Maps and say, oh, Benjamin Banneker did that. Right? We have people that live in the now that see the immediate ramifications of the things these people done.
right,
Right? And I think when you start looking at the foundations of government, that's what people really care about most. Right? Anything that's not in effect of this government and the way they move about on earth right now is at best just soliloquy.
right,
So what are we doing in the right now, and what is affecting us right now that we can utilize as a form of change? So I look at Benjamin Banneker and what he did. I look at Prophet Noble Drew Ali and what he did. I look at Marcus Garvey and what all of these people did, that we can all have direct references to pull from now that are relevant to today. You know, so he's it for me. Benjamin Banneker, Noble Drew Ali. It's
so
a lot of people.
I don't know who that is. Noble Drew Ali, who was that historically?
Mm. Okay, Noble Drew Ali is the founder and creator of what most would know to be the Moorish Science Temple. Just a brief snapshot. He's Cherokee Indian man, or Cherokee man. He ended up leaving the United States of America and going out to Mecca, Egypt, and traveling over there. And he was told all of the secrets of Christ from being in the Middle East.
Okay,
And he brought this information back to us in the form of government, in a sense of a way to help free the people from what came about post 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment and all of the the segregation issues that our people faced. Um, and he prophesied so much to put our people on game and help reestablish government. So much so that the very idea of the so-called Black revolutionary, if you will, the foundations of it come from him in the United States of America, which is part of the reason why they don't talk about him. No, Noble Drew Ali is the reason,
Okay.
the foundational reason why you have what we know to be the Nation of Islam today comes from Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew
Really?
Ali considered Marcus Garvey, whom everyone covets. He considered Marcus Garvey the focal forerunner of what we would call nationalism for the people to get back to a form of government. The
Okay.
reason why you have a Malcolm X, El Haj Malik El Shabazz, the reason why you have, I don't want to use it loosely under Louis Farrakhan. The reason why you have a Dr. Khalid Muhammad, the reason why you have all of these scholars comes from Noble Drew Ali. But they
Okay.
won't talk to you about him because he did so much in government that forced the United States of America to make changes in the way they operate in order to try to keep people whom look like you and I in subjugation.
Okay.
Um, so there's a lot that he did, and I tell people to study him, study what was going on in the 1930s, 19 late 20s, early 30s. Study all that stuff that was happening, and being that you're somebody that mentioned you mentioned economics and you mentioned banking, if you will, like
Right.
he's a guy that had a lot to do with all the stuff that's going on now. So
Okay.
I say study him.
Okay. Okay. Hey man, this has been great. I gotta run though. This has been fantastic, bro. How come we have never why have we never done this before, bro?
Bro, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I think at one point in time, bro, I was so like engulfed in this New York Knicks stuff, bro. Like, and I
Right.
realized like I'm losing my mind talking about it. I'm losing my mind talking about it. I'm losing my mind listening to people.
Right.
So I decided to take a little break from it. But like,
Right.
we always been cool. There ain't nothing been
Yeah.
there, but it ain't,
Right.
ain't nothing negative. I don't know, bro. We got to do it more.
We
We definitely
gotta
got to do it more.
we gotta have and for the record, so this is the platform I use to have the complex and complicated conversations for people that are on the cusp of doing something and having the energy to do something, but don't know what to do with that energy that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we have conversations. So if this is your first time watching the channel, right? If you came over because you saw Evergreen-G was on the show and you came over from TikTok, or if you're a follower of his and this is your first time coming over, there are a lot of random shows on the channel, but it's just conversations to kind of get us to the point where we can feel free to speak about certain topics in a place that's bully and troll free, where you can feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable to speak at your own pace in a judgment free zone, that eventually we try to accomplish things, right? But this right here is like the beginning. Hey man, listen, Evergreen-G, man, I salute you for one, for being a published author. I salute you for being a
Thank
social
you,
media influencer. I salute you for being a music producer. Salute you for being a dispenser of the truth as we know it. And we definitely have to get back together and do something like this again.
bro. I'm all about it. You got my math. Hit me up. Um, this is just the very beginning of being able to express these things, and I think the book has the ability to really change a lot of people's perception
Right, right,
and really get people to focus on critical thinking. So
right,
I would love to come back on and elaborate on anything, bro. Like I told you over the phone before we even, got on the stream. Like, bro, whatever you want to talk to me about, whatever you want to ask me, bro, I'm literally an open book.
right,
Um,
right.
I got, and the next time I do it, hey, hell, I might do it from my phone so that I can show you the literature that I have
Right.
and get people to walk with me in the same way I do on TikTok.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right. Or maybe we can simulcast. Maybe we can simulcast, and then that way, you know what I'm saying, we can get it shown on Vibes, and you can control it from your end, and we can reach multiple audiences and things of that sort to continue to try to
yeah,
be purveyors and dispensers of the truth.
I'm with it, bro. It's too easy. For the people that are looking for more of my content, you can follow me on TikTok at Evergreen_G7_L. You'll find it there. You'll see my book cover and a thumbnail. You'll see a bunch of videos. Like I said, I've been talking about these issues for roughly 2.5, 3 years now, and you know,
Yeah.
if you're interested in learning more, get the book, talk about it, read it, take your time reading it. It's only 176 pages, and the words are pretty damn big. So I try to get straight to the point, and it ain't hard to read. It ain't a hard read at all. So
Right.
um,
Right.
get it, talk about it, deliver it, and yep. This is
So
hold,
this
hold
is
on.
it
Oh, no,
right
no, no,
here.
not this one. Not this one. Not this
Not
one.
this
This is
one.
my backup page. This is
Okay.
my backup page. Look up Evergreen_G7. Hold on, let me see if I can that's my backup page. See, with TikTok, you gotta be careful because TikTok is very they're very
G7 G
censorshipy.
G7L.
Yep, Evergreen_G7_L.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
TikTok is very, very sensory. I would
Okay.
imagine that it's a little bit more censorshipy than YouTube is. So I
Really?
have a backup page. So if you ever, yeah, oh yeah, it's bad. Right now, I'm actually on this account that's on my main account, which is like 65,000 strong. That's the account that I'm actually suspended on right now until yep, this is the one. That's the account that I'm actually suspended on until the 16th. The first account you just saw is what I'll be going live on until the 16th and talking about stuff and
Wow,
reading literature and
TikTok,
kind of breaking some things down.
man,
Oh
all
yeah,
the
TikTok
trash,
is
bro, all the trash I see on TikTok, bro, and they telling me they censoring you. All the
all the
trash,
time, bro.
bro,
All the time.
I
I,
cannot believe it, bro.
I'll tell you this. I've been censored. I've been suspended on TikTok literally for reading the Constitution.
What? No.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
TikTok is bananas, bro.
Read the Constitution and they give you a ban and say it's hate speech. What? What are you talking about?
Oh,
I'm
oh,
reading Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, and you're telling me it's hate speech. Okay, whatever. So yeah, you guys can follow me there. That's one of my accounts. My secondary account is just underscore Evergreen G Productions, and then again you'll see the thumbnail to the book there. That's the platform you can look at me there for the next week or so. That's my backup one. That
right,
one's
right.
got like 3,000 followers on it, but they're mostly all of the same people that follow me from the other platform too.
Yeah,
So my
yeah,
main account, which is the one you got up at right now,
right, right,
that's the one where I drop Drews on, and you know,
right.
for the
How
most
how
part, I'll
how
say this for the
often? But how often? When should we check for you?
honestly random.
Okay,
I'm on the other platform. I might get off and go on live right now. Every day or so, I'm posting something new, something to kind of
okay,
bring people's minds into something. I want people to be able to open a platform, see something, get their minds working, and then close the platform back. The
right,
way
right,
I've designed this platform was essentially to engage with people. Whenever you see my face and you see these videos, I'm engaging with people as a matter of trying to do it as a matter of comedy,
right,
right? But when it's time for me to conduct lives and show and tell, so to speak, we're dealing with business and ain't no joking. We're dealing with the literature. So
right.
um yeah,
Yeah, we definitely have to get back together and
do it
and
again, man.
do
Whenever
some and talk that talk the way that people like to have that talk to them, bro. We definitely
Let's
gotta
get it in.
do that, man. Everybody, thank you for coming and rocking with us. Shout out to my brother in arms, Rel from We Talk Man. Shout out to all to Julian Blum and DSJ and a lot wise. Corey Lee was in the
We got the
building.
regulars in here.
Rel, yeah, man. Shout out to everybody that came through. Man, we appreciate y'all. I'm gonna try to see, the bigger this man gets, man, the more likely I won't be able to get a stitch of his time. Maybe we can figure
Brother, you
some
got my
things out.
man. Don't do that. You got my man, bro. You can hit me up whenever,
Yeah,
dog. You can hit me up whenever.
man. Yeah, man. So we're gonna get out of here. Next time we get together, man, maybe we could talk some Noble Drew Ali and the impact of seeking out the truth and sharing what you learned.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it.
All right, yeah, Bully in the building too. My bad. Bully was here too. So I'm gonna get out of here. Thank y'all for watching, man. Peace, y'all.
Peace. Peace.